The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, it'll probably be okay. If I have to restart Craig, and then we'll pick it up. We'll figure it out.
Just like a ska band, you'll pick it up, pick it up.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. My name is JD, and I am joined, as usual, by my two good friends, Kyle.
Yo.
And Matt.
Yo.
And this week, we are talking about Netflix's new animation offering, Kid Cosmic. It is created by Craig McCracken, who you may know created Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Wander Over Yonder. He is back once again with a new show, and longtime animation fans are pretty excited about this because Craig's finally getting back in the saddle, and honestly, I think this might be, pretty in line quality-wise with the rest of his shows. But we'll get into that. So there's one season of this. There's apparently two more in the pipeline. So we'll get that eventually. But just to get us started off, what did you guys think of it? Just kind of in a general sense.
Go.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I think it was me and Ari watched it and we liked it, and we thought Kid is a little annoying, but he is a kid.
Yeah.
it checks out. Yeah, I didn't mind. It was funny cartoon.
Yeah, I got that same vibe too. Like I enjoyed the show pretty much entirely, except for some scenes with Kid, but I mean, I get it. That's kind of what they're going for, is that he's kind of like he's a very flawed protagonist. So, and that's this being kind of, and I didn't know this because I've talked about Powerpuff Girls is one of my favorite shows on this show, and I've loved Foster's as well. I still haven't seen Wander Over Yonder. I've been kind of waiting for them to drop on a Disney Plus, and it's still not on there. So. I
haven't seen it either.
I do want to check that out eventually. But I didn't.
I watched it on Dustin's recommendation, and I loved Wander Over Yonder. Honestly, it's just like this show. There's a lot of jokes in Wander where you're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. So but what I didn't know was that I was under the impression that show was like a long form thing that had like a bit of overarching plot or whatever. Well, not like entirely, but kind of like on the level of some other shows where it's like it has a lot of episodes that kind of just stand on their own, and then would have like some episodes that tie into like a larger plot. I was under the impression that Wander Over Yonder was that type of show, but apparently it's not. Because I remember everyone was making a big deal about how this show was like Craig McCracken's first crack at a at like a long form show, meaning that from episode to episode, like the plot's actually relevant.
A continuous storyline.
Yeah.
Well, more towards the end of Wander, there's kind of a storyline.
Oh, okay. So, but for the most of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just because I was reading, apparently Craig's been wanting to do a long form show since he got started in the industry, and I was just kind of thinking, like, I wonder if he ever tried to do that with, like, obviously for Wander Over Yonder, like, I think he wanted to do that, but Disney execs kind of told him, like, no, it's better to keep this to short form, like episodes that we can replay without having the same old story, like I'm sure a lot of other networks like that too. But I was just kind of thinking, like, I wonder if there was ever any consideration for like Powerpuff Girls or Foster's to be like a long form show, and like how that would even pan out, like in what fashion.
I think Powerpuff Girls and Foster's probably not, because that wasn't like the style at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I want to say around when Gravity Falls kind of came out, that's when things kind of changed to being more serialized and stuff like that.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that, because I've been Craig has been more active on Twitter for the last couple weeks, just kind of to promote the show. And I've been seeing him interact with other creators. Like he was talking to Jorge Gutierrez. And I just saw one the other day. It was actually kind of cool, where like Alex Hirsch, Gravity Falls creator, was like going on about how much he liked the show, and like Craig responded back and like, well, hey, your show kind of paved the way for more serialized storytelling and animation. So it's like your generation kind of paved the way for us old guys to come back and finally do these kind of this kind of storytelling, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like, these creators are like, they're getting opportunities and learning stuff off of each other like that. So I just thought it was kind of cool that he's like thanking someone from from the newer generation of animation for giving him an opportunity to do something.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask is, when Netflix announced that they were going to do a bunch of shows that were creator driven or whatever from a bunch of new people, is this the first new series out of that deal? Because I know like Jorge's got his thing still in the works.
I want to say no. I think I want to say Over the Moon, because that was Glenn Keane's thing. I think that might be the first creator driven.
So this is the first like series, though.
I think so, because I even think Jorge's. I'm still not sure if is Jorge's thing a show or a movie.
It sounds like a mini series from what I read.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like one movie or if it was like a multiple episode thing. I was unclear about that, but yeah, I think this might be the first series from that initiative.
Okay.
And I gotta say, like, as first out the gate, I think they kind of came out swinging for the most part.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's a very well put together show, and it's of course because it's headed by Craig McCracken. He's been in the fucking business for like a long time.
He kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and I mean his other creation credits, I mean, are he has quite a resume behind him. Right. So the only other person that I know off the top of my head that worked on the show is Rob Renzetti, who has worked on everything. But most famously known for being the creator of My Life as a Teenage Robot. But yeah, that was fun to see that he was kind of like, because I feel like I know that he plays a bigger role on this show too, because I think he executive produced alongside Craig, and then I think he directed like all the episodes along with him as well.
Yeah, I think he Renzetti directed a handful of most of the episodes.
Yeah,
I think maybe not the first one, but
and then the other thing too was I believe the composer for this show. Oh yeah, Andy Bean. I think he was also the composer for Wander Over Yonder as well.
Mm.
And just going off of what I've heard from that show, like I said, I haven't watched it, so I'm not that familiar. I would like to be, but I feel like they do an entirely different like style of music, which is always fun to hear from a composer, like being able to show kind of their range and everything.
Yeah, I actually like. I can't tell you a tune off the top of my head, but I did like the musical style for this show. It's kind of more like that kind of garage rock.
What I liked about it specifically is because I guess in universe, like almost all the songs that we hear in the show are done by a band called Dr. Fang and the Gang, because you always see like this vinyl. You always see this vinyl spinning at the end of the episodes. Of,
okay. I thought that was just a joke. I didn't realize it was a real band.
No, that's not a real band. It's an in-universe band. But I think all the songs in the show are from this fictional band, and they're being split.
I think some of them are.
Well, the ones at the ends of the episodes, I mean, because that's like when the actual record player is like spinning the record and everything.
Yeah. Ari commented that they look like the Gangrene Gang.
That's what I was gonna say.
A little bit.
I was trying to find a picture, but there's not one online.
I just blew through the episodes like probably 6-7 hours ago, so I had the image of them like fresh in my mind. I was like, yeah, the dude on the very front of it like looks like Ace.
Yeah.
So this show it's a very interesting concept, but like not, I wouldn't say wholly original. I mean, basically,
no.
the beginning of the show is basically the start of Green Lantern.
I mean,
Well,
the whole
here,
show
let me-
is an
let me
homage
help
to
you out.
comics.
Let me help you out. Green Lantern, Guyver, Earthworm Jim, Ben 10, Kid Cosmic. A lot of stuff happens from the thing falls from space and gives the person superpowers.
It's a tried and true method.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also
Yeah.
it's fun because so it follows a kid named Kid, finds a crashed spaceship. Inside the spaceship are these 5 stones of power, which apparently are sought out by every evil alien kingdom in the universe. Through different events, he ends up giving these stones out to different people in the town. You've got Joe, who is a teenager who works at her mom's diner in town in this like podunk middle of nowhere desert town that has maybe like 3 buildings in it. You've got Rosa, who is a literal 4-year-old girl. You've got his grandpa, who is just a hippie who runs a junkyard, and then you have the best character, which is Tuna Sandwich, the local cat.
I don't know if people would agree with you about being the best.
I love Tuna. He's the best character.
Well, especially once he starts talking.
Yeah.
No, it was great because these stones give every character a different power. So like Kid gets a stone that gives him the power of flight, which he later by the end of the season actually figures out it's actually
Telekinesis.
telekinesis. Joe gets gets the power to create portals. Rosa has the power to become a giant. Papa G gets the power to multiply himself, and Tuna gets the power to see the future. And because he's a cat, he can't talk. So the way he does
Just
it,
an alarm, basically.
he just starts screaming. He's a danger alarm. He goes, meow, meow, meow. And I just fucking love that. It's so stupid. I also think it's funny that he's a fat cat and he has a very prominent butthole.
Yeah, no,
they're showing it.
They do show off that X-shaped.
Yeah, I don't know why it makes me laugh that anytime they have a cartoon animal actually has a butthole. I don't know why it makes me laugh.
It's a very Japanese thing to do.
It just has a little X on his butt, and it makes me laugh. I don't know why.
Because the poop comes from there, JD.
It does come from there. And I have a cat who poops in a box that I have to clean later.
It's so relatable.
It is very relatable. But throughout the season, Kid and the gang are plagued by like different alien races who are coming to Earth, trying to get a hold of these stones. But they are mainly antagonized by this one alien who came down in the first episode. They give the name of Chuck. His name is Stuck Chuck because fucking Joe portaled him halfway through the floor of a trailer. So he's just like splitting him in half.
And then he actually loses his legs later.
Yeah. and he's like, doesn't seem really bothered by it. Because apparently his race, their limbs and shit just fall off, and I guess you can just stick them back on if you want.
That's what it seemed like, because when there was the battle with his people, he was looking at a pair of legs like, oh, I'm going to take these, and then they ran away.
And they run off.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they showed that, like, I think, what was it? I can't remember who smacked him in the mouth, but they knocked out his teeth, and then he grew them back a second later. But apparently, legs can't be grown back because,
right.
Well, no, and he makes a comment. He's like, "That's fine. Our race doesn't keep anything important down there."
Not the below the belt's important.
Yeah.
But yeah, and something I thought was interesting is that through like there's 10 episodes, and for like the first 5. They just kind of keep Chuck around. He's like, they keep him stashed in the trailer, and he's just sitting around reading comic books. While also, yeah, he just, I just love every time he does something, he's just like, it's like, why isn't this working? And just off in the distance, because you suck.
Yeah.
No, I really liked him as a character because he was such a piece of shit, and I really liked it.
Well, he's a very pronounced evil alien. He is like, I'm going to get a hold of my leader. He's going to come to the Earth and destroy it and take the stones from you. And he's just biding his time while he's like secretly building a communicator. But it's in any other show, that would be like the lead up to like the finale. That gets paid off like halfway through the season when Chuck's race comes down to Earth, and it turns out his great leader is like a super pansy and like gets like flees the battle pretty fast and just kind of abandons Chuck.
It's like when you said that yesterday, I was thinking, is he really though? Is he like a coward though? Because those dogs were fucking vicious and everyone was afraid of them. So it seemed like the appropriate response.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
You know, it was just funny because the way it was just the way that Chuck kept building him up as he's like this world conqueror thing, and yes, these demon dogs that we find that were actually sent by the government, which I have words about the government subplot in this. It was just funny that like how easily this great leader just gives up and leaves.
Yeah.
Just for 5 episodes, we hear from Chuck like, "Oh, my leader is so great. He's so fearsome. He's gonna come down and just destroy your Earth," and he just like kind of pieces out real fast.
Right, and the other note about Chuck is that it's just always fun to hear Tom Kenny having a good time.
Yeah,
and because I wanted to speak to the voice cast too, because I mean I would say that everyone's casted very well. I think it's mostly like as far as I know, like unknowns, but I mean, you do have some names in there. You got Tom Kenny's Chuck. You got Fred Tatasciore as the cat when he is able to talk. I
would like to think he also makes the cat noises.
You got and then God, I mean, I've only known him from like a handful of roles, but Keith Ferguson is Papa G, who
he's also blue.
Yeah, he's blue on Foster's, but the only other role that I know off the top of my head that he does is Reaper in Overwatch.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, and he does like 2 different voices for him too that sound drastically different depending on like if he's a human or his Reaper form. And like the dude has some range, like it's incredible. Like no voice role that I've heard from him has ever sounded like that. That dude's talented as fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've got like a bunch of bit voice actors in there as well that show up for a bit. You got like Phil Lamar, Eric Baza, Creed Summer.
The usual voice actor fare.
Yeah, it was fun to hear Michaela Dietz just because coming off of Steven Universe, it's always fun to hear Steven Universe voice actors pop up in other stuff.
Right.
Tom Kenny is Craig McCracken's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, you kind of can't have a Craig show without Tom Kenny.
It's true.
Oh, because he voiced in Wonder Over Yonder, right?
Yeah, he was the mayor in Powerpuff Girls. I never watched Foster's. I want to say he was the bunny, wasn't he?
No, that was I think Tom Kane was Harriman, I think.
Yeah.
Huh. What was he in Foster's? I know he's in it.
I know he did voices. I specifically remember he was this. He was Eduardo.
Oh, right.
That's right. That's right.
He was that. In Wonder Over Yonder, he was a eyeball guy. He was like a main character.
Okay.
It was like Hater's minion or something.
Yeah, his right-hand man. And then in this one he's Chuck.
Yeah, so you can't have a Craig production without Tom.
I wouldn't want a Craig production without Tom.
So yeah, we kind of get over that hump of like, the big invasion about halfway through the season, and they're like, okay, so where are we gonna go from here? And then it just takes this weird turn into like, this biker that's been in the background of the diner scenes for the last couple of episodes is actually like the head of some shadowy government organization, who like totally knew that the stones had crash land on Earth, and they let Kid have them because they just kind of wanted to test and see what they did. And then and then from there it's just like, okay, it's the government taking over this operation. The town knows about that the team has powers, and then the stones get taken away, and the government kind of becomes the main antagonist from there.
I didn't really care for that kind of plot because just kind of came out of nowhere, and
Like,
But-
I'm gonna be honest. Any story with like about like any fantastical story that feels the need to shoehorn the military into it, I like almost immediately lose interest. I'm like,
yeah,
not
that's
this
how I
again.
feel.
I mean, when you're looking into what influenced the show and everything, like, of course they were gonna do something with that, the government related plot and stuff, especially related to like aliens and stuff. Because I mean, we've been doing that since the fucking like 50s. So yeah,
I know it like it like it's a trope, but it's a trope that I'm kind of just getting tired of seeing. Like, can we just have one fantastical Earth-based story that doesn't have to involve the government in some way?
Well, I mean, the one that pops up at the top of my head, I because of course I'll mention it, it's fucking Steven Universe. There's no like government presence in there at all, even though there's fucking aliens roaming around on Earth.
That was fucking great. I was waiting for some government representative to show up, and I'm like, okay, we have these aliens living on Earth. We need to do something about this, and that would have like completely ruined that story. So I'm glad that they never went there.
Yeah, that would have been a much shorter show.
Yeah,
fucking the Transformers movie. Like the government, it's just like,
dude, don't like. I still stand by that. Like the first Transformers movie, like kind of entertaining. It's probably also because I saw it in high school with a bunch of friends.
You're talking about the Michael Bay one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the Michael Bay Transformers. But yeah, the fact that the military is so shoehorned into those movies is like one of the biggest detriments to those movies. Also, Michael Bay is a detriment to that movie.
Right.
Serious. I will say the saving grace of this military turn in the story is that once the power stones are taken away from the team, they're given to a Black Ops group who then gets turned into Power Rangers, basically.
Yeah, the Earth Force Enforcement Force.
Yeah.
Which
I love their theme song.
Yeah, that episode they get introduced, that fucking theme song is playing for like 2 minutes.
They just keep saying the word force over and over again.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it's the only episode of the season that is not titled Kid Cosmic and the something.
Right, yeah. I forgot to go for that naming convention on there.
Yeah.
We should talk about the fucking backgrounds on this show. The backgrounds are beautiful.
I mean, the entire art style for this show is really, really interesting because I don't know if we mentioned it already, but like how the art style for the show really takes like inspiration from like old newspaper comics. I was reading here that it's like inspired by like things like Dennis the Menace and Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah, you could definitely see that in the style.
Yeah.
This is what the 2011 DuckTales should have looked like. Because I know they were trying to do something like that with the theme song, but this is probably how it should have looked with the textures and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, they definitely could push that textures. I think that they were doing with the DuckTales thing is they were like, I think they were trying to do that more with the color palette, like with how Donald wears like a solid black instead of having a blue shirt. So I think it was more for the color palette, but I do agree that they could have kind of pushed that comic strip, comic book kind of look a little more.
Yeah. So as far as because I don't know, I feel like the background style just sort of really suits the environment and everything. Like, there's something about the show. It just seems it's like really cozy, just because it's like you mentioned, like this town probably has like less than 100 people in it or something. And it's like
I'd say it has less than 20.
Yeah. And it just,
you see everybody who lives here.
Yeah, it's like they're on a desert. You see like most of the characters that show up. Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert at the end where the alien brings up that there's 13 power stones. There's like 13 people in the diner, so
as soon as they mentioned that, I counted everyone up. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's going to be the plot of the next season.
The whole town gets powers.
Yeah,
that's what I figured.
That could be funny. But yeah, like I said, there's already like 2 more seasons of this planned, so there's all kinds of directions that can go in.
So that's the thing. When I was watching it at the end, knowing that there was a second season, it seemed like it wrapped up pretty well, and I'm like thinking, well, how the fuck are they gonna do anything? And then that happened at like almost literally the last 2 minutes, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
It's like they do a fade to black on the end of the story, and then it says 6 months later, and these aliens, these good aliens that were at the end of in the last episode, just come back and like, oh, we fucked up.
yeah,
We have to transport your town out into space.
that was pretty funny though. The where the military guy was explaining it, he was like, yeah, all these loser aliens. They had pictures of all the old ones that they fought on. That was pretty good.
Right. Yeah, they're all like in prison and everything. The
I like all the monster designs. They were all fun.
yeah,
Like I really like the big-headed one with the levitation powers. I loved his
fucking with the googly
design.
eyes, the fucking rotating eyes.
Yeah. I loved him. I loved the pig monster that could duplicate. Like all the designs are just super solid.
Yeah, no, there were some designs in here. Like I said, I haven't watched it, but I've seen character designs from Wander, and some of the character designs in here did kind of like the alien designs kind of reminded me of some incidental characters that I've seen from that show. So I'm wondering, like, they had this shared staff.
And honestly, they could be holdouts from it because Wander wasn't treated correctly.
Yeah.
So they could have been Wander aliens.
I wouldn't.
That's a good point. Yeah, I can see that. There's a bit of CG in this show that is utilized very well. It's mostly like for mechanical stuff, but it's like stylized in a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say you mentioned that there's CG. I didn't really notice any.
I didn't
like
either.
any real prominent. So I mean, if there's CG in this show, then they really blended it well.
It's mostly stuff with like like I said, machinery, like spaceships and like automobiles and stuff, trucks.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's
Red robot.
I'm not sure actually for any of the robots. I think, like I said, it's mostly just like transport from the stuff that I mentioned.
But like the red robot, when he was talking, I noticed like his head would go down and up.
Yeah, I think he might have been CG.
I'm thinking that too.
I mean, it's just cool that we've gotten to a point now that they're able to stylize the CG so well that it blends in so well that you can barely tell.
And that's when I'm okay with you kind of blending 2D and 3D together. It's like if you can make the 3D almost not noticeable, then I'm fine with it. It's just when there's such a glaring difference between the two.
Yeah.
There was something else that I wanted to bring up though, specifically about how the show's animated, and it's very interesting. It's mostly prominent in the first episode, but you do see hints of it in some later episodes. But it's got this weird, and I'd say for the most part, the show is, animated, like, on what, twos, I guess. But like, there's some poses and stuff where like they'll just snap to. Like, it kind of reminded you, like, if sometimes when the episodes of a show airs nowadays, like the people that worked on that episode will upload like not the storyboards, but kind of like the animatic process. And I feel like a lot of the show's animation, like in that first episode and some later episodes, are just kind of like the poses. There's no like in betweens, and they're just like, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
It's really interesting just because I haven't seen any other show do that, which is I don't necessarily think is a detriment. It's just interesting to see because it's just weird. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at here, but it's something that's very noticeable that I just thought was interesting. Like, I don't know if maybe they were going for like a certain approach early on and then pivoted and were just decided to, animate it more, well, not traditionally, but kind of more like expectedly. I feel like a lot of the parts where it does happen, like it's completely fine because I mean they're mostly for just little nothing poses, but they're just sort of, they don't hold like any larger importance than stuff later on that's like fully animated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was strange.
But yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of good in this show. It does tread on a lot of different tropes we've seen in other things, but I think the way that it all just comes together makes it really unique. I feel like the way that the characters interact really helps this show. Just like just the main team, you get very different backgrounds. Like Kid and Papa G are related. You get hints of like Kid is orphaned because of like something about his parents dying in a car accident. They never like explicitly say like what happened, but they can kind of give you like quick snippets of info about it.
Yeah, there's like a newspaper clipping, and then like there's a like a flashback that Kid has while he has the red stone, which has the precognition or whatever.
I think I remember when Chuck brings up that the robot invasion that Kid fended off single-handedly, he also that up to him to kind of piss him off.
Yeah.
Which that whole little arc there, I thought was really good because like the previous episode, they keep like handing medals out to each other every time like someone really excels in one of their battles, and like
Rosa has like 10 of them.
Rosa is like so OP.
I love her. She might be like my favorite character on the show, like her or Joe.
I was talking about that a lot of the powers aren't offensive types; they're more defensive types. And hers is more offensive.
I mean, it's offensive in the sense that, like, when she grows big, obviously she can crush things, she can lift things. She's almost impervious to damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Kid can only fly, or Joe almost kind of only uses it for escaping and kind of just running around. And obviously, Papa G is just making more of himself.
And see, like, I don't want to bring it up, but that's one of the powers that Donut Assault has is portals. And the way that he would do it would be, grab a person, make a portal like 7,000 feet in the air and just drop the person. Like, the way I think of it is more offensive, or, grab a person, throw them to the bottom of the ocean or something like that.
And I think that kind of speaks to like how no matter what the superpower is, there's a million different and it just depends on that person's interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Because I mean we've seen people with these kind of powers before, but like I do like it that they use them almost like not too terribly offensively. Like it's even stated that Papa G is a pacifist.
Yeah.
And I do actually like how Papa G ends up using his powers, where like he uses all of his clones comb the desert, uses them a camera crew. I think the best one is when the demon dogs are attacking the diner, and he just keeps sending his clones out to die.
To fucking board up the building.
You hear him horribly, and he just.
No, I think the best one, and Matt, I think you and I were talking about this, it was either you and me or someone else.
It was me and you.
Yeah, okay. It was me and you, Kyle, yesterday. We're talking about the best one is when one of these giant aliens comes down and is about to kill them, but then he can't react to it. He can't breathe our oxygen, so he just dies immediately.
Oh yeah, what was it like the Kid Cosmic and the Colossal Corpse or something?
Yeah, and he just dies immediately, and they're like, "Well, we gotta do something with this giant alien." So Papa G's like, "We'll take care of it." And they go bury him, literally make a grave out of a mountain for him and just bury him in the desert. And then they come back to get their hero medal. And he's like, well, it took some doing, but we got him in there. I had to cut some corners and everything. And it just flashes to one of the clones with a chainsaw and just like really upset.
It's like, therapy will take care of that.
Yeah. Cut this thing up just to get it in the hole.
He just looked horrified. That was the best
part. So it's like the show is I would say it's very family friendly, but just really weird, like dark jokes every now and then.
Yeah.
Which is, and that's not entirely out of, like Craig McCracken came from that era of cartoon creator that was able to get that kind of stuff. I mean, like you look at fucking Powerpuff Girls. I mean, they managed to squeeze in so much stuff into that, and that was on network television.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like I think it's the subtlety of the dark jokes are just a little more refined in this now.
The other one was the where she sent the aliens off in a silo.
Oh,
Rosa just throws a bunch of aliens in a silo and chucks them into space, and then they go into space later that you see them floating around dead.
she's like, sleeping.
Yeah. Yes, Rosa's sleeping. And that's another thing I just say. There's a lot of casual alien.
Yeah.
Mostly by Rosa.
So
she's OP.
one thing I'm wondering though is since all the bad aliens were trying to get the stones, were they trying to get it for themselves, or were they trying to retrieve them for the ones that lost
so
it?
The way I took it was that everyone up until those last 5 show up were trying to get it for themselves.
That was the vibe that I got too.
Yeah, so then when you get
Hunter was trying to get them for them. That was
maybe I did enjoy the bounty hunter. It's just like she's not trying to kill them; he's trying to buy the stones off of them.
Yeah,
yeah. I wanted to bring up because a lot of the stuff that we mentioned is just from one episode, and it's the episode where it's kind of like a documentary that like Kid is putting together about the team.
Yeah.
Which I would say is like it's a very good episode, and it's kind of like if you're gonna show anyone an example of the show to see if they'd enjoy it, that's definitely the one to show.
Yeah, for
them.
sure.
Because it's kind of like just like a capsule of like a lot of the, because it's a lot of just like sort of like really quick, just like, you know, how does the team deal with like this situation type of things, and it's like it's a very varied sort of like episode that's really fun.
Yeah, that you're right. That is probably the best one to show them.
I was gonna say, because I mean, I would say my favorite episodes of the show were like that one, and then the you mentioned it, but the one where they're like being hounded by the demon dogs, and they're all stuck like in the diner, and yeah, they're just kind of dealing with like, because that was also their powers are revealed to some of the people in town, and like they're trying to keep everything calm and like, but also use their powers and everything. And I thought that was also a very fun episode. There's a really cool shot in that one too that I want to take note of, was that after Papa G like boards up all the windows, it's like completely dark inside because the power's out, and like the scene is like entirely lit by just the stones, which looked really cool.
Yeah, and I even did like how like as the Papa G clones are outside boarding up the windows, like the inside of the diner just keeps getting progressively darker and darker until it's pitch black, so that they can have that scene where they just use the light of the stones to show everything off.
Yeah. That was a really cool episode. That one and the documentary episode are like the two of my favorites.
Yeah, and so that I really like the turn that they had, that is kind of like after that documentary episode, where it's like Kid is the only one who hasn't won a medal. So Papa G uses his clones to like disguise himself as a robot army and give Kid like a really easy win all by himself. But then in the next episode, Chuck reveals like, oh hey, they all lied to you. So Kid goes back and steals back all of the power stones and like tries to take on Chuck's race all by himself, which for the most part he does okay, but like
he stumbles through it a lot. I think my favorite utilization, like him, because he's not used to using all the other stones except for the one that he has, and like he's using Joe's stone, the teleportation one, and he's just like cutting them all like into like quarters and stuff, like on accident. Like it's great.
Yeah. And then I really like the subversion at the end where you get this invasion of more aliens right at the end, but it turns out aliens to invade, they're actually just trying to get their stones back, because it turns out all of these stones are the remnants of like these planets. like in their own solar system are like the last remnants of these planets that were destroyed by this world destroyer alien that we never see. But because they're the last remnants of the stones, give you the power of the people of that planet. So like basically in kind of like a Ben 10-esque reveal, it's like these aliens that come down have all the same power as the individual stones, and so that's how they kind of piece together like, oh, these stones belong to these guys. And honestly, had this show ended after one season and it was like, okay, well, these aliens came back, we gave them their stones back, and they all went home. Like I like we kind of said, they kind of wraps up for the most part there at the end. I am glad we're getting more of this though.
I'm definitely looking forward to the next 2 seasons.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall this is a really solid show, and I mean, if you've got Netflix, it is definitely something you should check out. It's just really lovingly well done, and I can't wait to see what else Craig and the crew put together.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big recommendation.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that'll just do it for this week. Thank you all for listening. Let us know what you thought about Kid Comic in the comments section. And before I go, I do just want to make a quick announcement. We are officially partnered with a podcast network. We are now a part of the Geekly Grind podcast network. For the most part, they do a lot of different shows regarding like anime, comics, tabletop stuff. So we're going to be like the animation wing of that network. So go ahead and check it out. You can check them out on Twitter. They're called the Geekly Grind if you want to check them out. But they've been really giving us a warm welcome to them. Nothing about our show is going to change as of the moment, so don't worry about that. But it's just nice that we're part of the network now, and hopefully that'll help us reach out to more people. If you are a listener of one of the other Geekly Grind podcasts and you're here for the first time, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you like this show for whatever it is. But
please stick around. I promise it gets better.
It's definitely a hit or miss kind of case for us. But to everybody, thank you all for listening. Remember, stay safe out there. And if you remember anything from this, remember, freaking out, breathe it out.
Well said.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. You can also jump in our Discord to keep up with the conversation. The Ink and Paint Club podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Links, as always, are in the description. We'll see you next time.